the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Good morning. Today is the second week of Easter, the second Sunday in Easter, the end of the Easter octave, the 8 days octave, oct, 8, like an octopus, but much nicer. The 8 days which begin on Easter Sunday and end today. Today is also known as Divine Mercy Sunday, if you're that way inclined, and so maybe you want to give thanks for the mercy which God continues to pour out upon his church and people all over the world. Today in the Gospel we hear a number of important things, don't we? We hear the gift of the Holy Spirit, for the breath of our Lord. We are not hearing about Pentecost, we're hearing about the breath of God, an underlining of the Trinitarian nature of God that, I like to call processionality. You see a great procession of maybe choristers and altar servers and priests and deacons and a bishop at the end, of course, bestowing blessings as he walks by. And it's a procession showing how one thing leads to another. The choir maybe leads to the cross, and the altar servers, the clouds of incense go before, the other servers who lead to the priests, who lead to the bishop. And it's showing an order of things. It's not, I hope it isn't perceived in this way, showing an order of importance. Let the unimportant go first, and the most important at the end, not at all. Every person in that procession has a job, a role to play, and are in some way dependent upon the other. It isn't an order of importance, but an order of the way people, maybe when they get to the end, will sit down and use their work. Each person is innately equal, and each has equal importance, but each has a different job to do. And so in the processionality of the Holy Trinity as well, God the Father, who doesn't come first, they all come together. The God the Father makes the world. The Word is spoken at the same time, and the Son comes into being, the Word that becomes flesh. At the same time, the creative force of the universe is also there. So you have a creator, the creating force, and the Son and Word made flesh, each of which is interdependent upon each other, each of which happens at the same time, but has a different role to play. And towards the end of the account of John, we see the processionality of God in the Father who made the Son, and the Son breathing and saying, receive the Holy Spirit. It's an order of a processionality, it's an order of creation, but all these things happen at the same time and are interdependent upon each other. So it is also for us. So what we do in our church and in our homes and in our lives is dependent upon God as Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, not as three individual beings, but interdependent on each other, and interdependent in a way in which we also have space with them in what they do as well. Now, that wonderful icon by Rublev, the Holy Trinity, shows the three angels, the three, how do you put this these days, the three, there's a word, I don't know what the word is, because I stopped learning words in about 1820. But there's a word anyway, which shows a particular type of being. Beings in the Holy Bible, we are told quite clearly, are all made by God. I'll stop there before I go any further. But you know what I mean. The three are interdependent, and we have a space at the table of these three beings. They are here not for us, but we are here because they are. Because I am, therefore you also find life and salvation. I stand in front of an altar, a beautiful altar. I'll move to one side for a moment. Maybe you can't see at the top, there's a scene that shows Mary and Joseph and the child Jesus on the flight through Egypt. On the side panels, there's rather naive interpretations of a Central African village scene, may have looked like to an early Victorian Englishman. At the bottom, some seraphim there you see painted, and various inscriptions around. At the top, in the middle here, you will see a ship. There's a prow of a ship with sails, and on the sails are the flag of St. George, the Annunciation, and Our Lady with a Child. And in the middle one it has the letters UMCA. And this altar belonged to Bishop Frank Weston. It's a University Mission to Central Africa altar. It was brought here at some point in the 1970s when the UMCA shut down and amalgamated with another similar organisation. No one quite knows why it came here. But a couple of years ago I had some Romanian iconographers, and they came and did a beautiful job of restoring the altar back to its original condition. Bishop Frank Weston was a great hero of the Anglo-Catholic movement. He used to go around universities, saying, "You must go, boys, young men, go to the missions and live in Africa and convert the people of Africa." And one young man stood up and said, "But Bishop, I don't want to live in Africa." He said, "I don't want you to live in Africa either, boy. I want you to go and die there." Or words to that effect. What he is saying is, give your life. Give your life in the service of Almighty God. What happened to that young man we'll never know. And Bishop Weston then much later on campaigned for the ordination of the men he had trained in Africa, African men to be priests and bishops and deacons. And eventually the whole organisation became a bit pointless because the church in Central Africa, particularly where he was, became autonomous and had no more need of a parent organisation, as it were, in the UK, drip feeding money and supplies to them. And so all things in the end work out well. But Bishop Weston and his group, his mission to Central Africa, are part of the descendants, as you and I are as well, of what happens in today's gospel. He says, "Receive the Holy Spirit. Those whose sins you forgive are forgiven. Those whose sins you retain, they are retained." He goes out and says, "Now here is a commission for you. You will go out," you will hear later on, "baptize all people in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost," when he sends back to the Father, and get on with the work you've been given. Even the angel comes down to say, "Go back into Jerusalem and do the work you've been given. Don't stand around here staring up into the sky. Find something to do." There's many of us at the moment, I think, I have to say, not myself, I seem to be busier now than ever, but many of us who have nothing to do, or less to do than usual. People who are living in homes where they are terrorised and afraid and kept under surveillance by their partners or by their people they maybe assume to be their loved ones who maybe are not. Families who are finding it hard, who are splitting up, who are having arguments, all this stuff going on because we are having an interruption in our day-to-day lives, because we place all this value on the stuff that we do normally, whereas the fundamental stuff we are to do is forgive. Those whose sins you forgive, they are forgiven. Those whose sins you retain, they are retained. And if we receive the Holy Spirit, therefore we are called to forgive one another. It doesn't mean that we should put up with all kinds of awful stuff. Forgiveness can often mean a number of things. It can mean moving away. Forgiveness can also mean forgiving ourselves for allowing ourselves to be violated for a long time, or even a short time. Forgiveness and moving on can be brought together into the same thing. So Bishop Frank Weston's organisation moved on from what they were begun as doing to what the church in Central Africa is now. We all have our part to play. When I was a kid at school, I read a book about the railway from the Cape to Cairo, built by the Victorian engineers, and I thought, I'd love to be just like them. I'd love to be like Sir Cecil Rhodes. I'd love to build this great railway. I knew nothing as a 14-year-old boy about his legacy, about his own thoughts. I knew nothing about what we know about him and the awful slavery and conditions that the workers on that railway were kept under. The book, of course, didn't say that. It was written as a hagiography of Cecil Rhodes, and as that, it worked perfectly. It gave you a real wish to be like him. And as a boy, of course, that's quite an attractive thought. Do I think that book now should be burnt? No, I don't. We make up our minds, not only on the basis of one thing, but as we grow up and get older, as we mature in our thoughts and in what we're doing, we come to an informed adult decision, which can be informed by things which we may see as being good, and things we may now see as being bad. It doesn't matter. It makes us who we are. And in the same way, we find in the gospel today, those whose sins you forgive are forgiven, those whose sins you retain, they are retained. Whatever happens to us, whatever sins or evil we endure in our life, it does in fact make us who we are. And the reception of God's Holy Spirit enables us to filter these things and to understand them for what they are, part of our life and part of the way that we are made into being who we are and who we are now. Oh, but people never change, they say. Part 2 of our gospel is about Thomas. And you'll hope I will say maybe, poor old Thomas, so badly done to, because you would doubt, wouldn't you? We would all doubt if we were in his position. Sure, we would. It doesn't mean that we call Thomas doubting Thomas forever. I remember years ago I went to Hamburg. I left home, it was about 2:30 in the morning. I was going to do a few bits and pieces in Hamburg, and I got to the Landungsbrücke, which is where along the landing stage of a pier, the sideways pier, runs along the side where the ships could dock there in the old days and bring their goods aboard. And now it's full of wonderful little shops and places to eat. The one right at the end of the Landungsbrücke. You go to Hamburg Airport, you get the S-Bahn and the U-Bahn, you come out at Landungsbrücke. You walk all the way down the Landungsbrücke, all the way to the end, passing all these attractive-looking little bars and restaurants and shops. Forsake them all, forget them all, go to the one right at the end, and there you will find a bottle of Astra beer and a beautiful sandwich, Krabbenbrötchen, made of German Krabben beans, crab, and it can also be prawn as well, it's quite confusing. But in Hamburg it means tiny, weedy brown shrimps. And you have a sandwich of brown shrimps and a bottle of Astra beer for about €5. And if you're anything like me, an old friend of yours will come along and say, why are you drinking beer at 10:30 in the morning and eating prawn sandwiches? And I said, well, I left home at 2:30 in the morning. So for me it's the evening, so that's fine, I don't care. Some people, he said, some people never change. Here you are in Hamburg doing this in the morning. I said, well, I'm an English tourist, what do you expect? So like Thomas, we say, people never change. Thomas, always doubting Thomas. But actually no, we are made up of all the things that happen to us in our lives, and we're made up and turned to the people of God by exposure also to him. So people may say you will never change. I say, blessed are those who know their need of change. Blessed are those who, having seen what they've done in their lives, turn themselves around to do something better. I don't care what's happened before in your life, if it's been good or bad. You have to care yourself, it makes you who you are. But what I'm interested in is what makes us who we are now and how we'll use that to become better people later on. How we will forgive people's sins. And how, like Thomas, we may need to put our hands in the side and in the hands of Christ. But once we've done that, what does it then make us into? We are a conglomeration of the experiences, spiritual and in every other possible way, that makes us who we are, that we've had in our lives. And it's quite normal for the church to turn around, I think, in many places, and say your experience as a human being doesn't matter. What matters is faithfulness to the doctrine, to the magisterium, to the church. You must obey what the church says, and that is the way you will find salvation. Not the case, is it? Not the case. Who told Thomas that? Who told Simon Peter that when he was in the Praetorium denying Christ? Who told Lazarus he had to obey the church? Who told Martha and Mary what to say? Nobody. They encountered Christ and they changed their lives in accordance with that encounter. The sense of passing on a precious witness has become so enormously important and strong in our faith that it sometimes swamps what should be the complementary sense that we ourselves, the living, are also meant to be direct witnesses ourselves. We can't put ourselves back into Galilee 2,000 years ago, but nonetheless, we are called to experience ourselves personally in our flesh something of the realities the gospel describes. And if one of those realities is doubt, then fine, doubt. If one of those realities is faith, then good, have faith. If one of those realities is despair, and saying, my God, why have you forsaken me, then feel forsaken. The church can't say what emotions you ought to be having. We look at the Bible and we find every emotion there. And Jesus wept. Jesus had his own troubles as well. He had Judas, who was on his back, as it were, but had to fulfill his work as well. And so we become suspicious in the church of the lived experience of each other, of the saints, of the prophets, of the angels, and duly recognised visions. So surely, the peace, joy and forgiveness of the risen Christ brought the disciples gathered together on the first Low Sunday is one which informed their own personal thoughts and feelings and how they then went about doing their work. Forgive people's sins. As the Father sent me, so I am sending you. He sends us out like sheep among wolves. I'm not saying the whole world are wolves. I'm saying there are wolves out there. But we have to use our lived experience of faith in order to guide us, because ultimately God sends you out and not you in the image of who the church says you ought to be. He sends you out as who you are. I've had enough of people in the church hiding around behind corners. I've had enough of people hiding in sacristies and hiding behind altar screens. I've had other people hiding behind their own fears. He sends us out as who we are to encounter faith and the resurrection. We will find doubt, we will find despair, we will find hope. Those early disciples were in the cenacle. Cenacle is a name given to the upper room where they were hiding, terrified. And people say, go to your inner cenacle and there find yourself. But they were told to get out of the cenacle. They were told to leave. So don't retreat into your inner cenacle. It's ridiculous. You received the Holy Spirit. You've been told to be sent out as the Father sent me, so I am sending you. None of these things say sit in your house. None of these things say stay where you are. None of them say be afraid. Do not be afraid. I send you out as the Father sent me. Forgive people's sins. Go out and be the person, the men, the women that God my Father made you to be. Not the men and women you are told to be by anybody else. Encounter the risen Christ. Live your life accordingly, and God will use you for what he has in store. You may feel you're in the cenacle now. You may feel that you're somehow stuck in the upper room, not sure what to do next. Nonsense. Sorry. We have weeks more of stuff to do. And we can't stay in the cenacle forever. Go out. Teach the good news. Go to all humanity. It may be that going out now doesn't mean physically going out. Any more than I'm physically sitting in this chapel with you now. I'm not. You're not. It's a different dynamic. But in all the history of our church, taking us from the missions in Zanzibar to this church built here 150 years ago, to who you are now, to today. Today should be a really wonderful day because I was installed as vicar here exactly 7 years ago today. And I look around and I feel so happy about the way things are going, and now I think, actually, I'm in church on my own. This isn't exactly what I was hoping for. It's not really what I was called to do. Receive the Holy Spirit. Those whose sins you forgive, they are forgiven. And I am sending you. Sending you out into the world as it is, and you as you are. And there is work to be done. Let us do it cheerfully, to the glory of God, the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost.